hello. Welcome to The Play That Changed My Life, the podcast that's going to get more theater in your life, brought to you by Harbinger Theatre and OSM Studios. Today we have two excellent guests. Rachel Stewart, who is stage managing Stage Kiss for Confetti Stage, is here with us. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And Jack Ellis, who is a senior at Siena College, majoring in English and theater, a phenomenal actor. Yeah. And he's coming up in a play called A Maze, 21 days from now, which is March
7th.
7th. Thank you, Jack. So let's get talking about some theater. Unfortunately, we started off, last podcast with a remembrance of Dick Feldman, who was a major supporter, contributor, participant, attendant of Capital Region Theater. And unfortunately, we're starting off today's podcast with a remembrance. Last night, the Capital Region and the world lost Nicky Lights, Nicholas Nealon, who was a colossus of community theater here in the Capital Region. He went to Albany High School. He had a great story he told me about being in this Angelico play where he played drums, and he went wild, directed by John Veely. But then he taught at Bethlehem High School and was the audio-visual guy. And then branching out into community theater, he was just phenomenal. He lent his talents, which were lighting design and production, to numerous companies, and literally there are hundreds of productions that would not have happened without Nicky Lights. He had a business card made up, Nicky Lights. It was Lightz. And Rachel's here representing Confetti Stage, and I think he must have lit every single Confetti show for its 20 years now.
Yeah, I mean, he was there when I started coming in to work with various community theater organizations in the region, just omnipresent. You know, you would get to tech and there would be Nicky with his van full of lights and DMX and scrims and any kind of fabric piece that you could possibly need. And you'd come to him with a problem and say, you know, hey, I want to have chase lights for this train scene or something like that. And he'd be like, we'll see what I can do. And he'd putter around a little bit, and 10 minutes later, you'd have a working chase light that just looked like it had been there forever and was perfectly timed immediately. He just made magic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
My favorite piece that he created for a show that I collaborated with him on was in The Christians. And that was the first piece that Harbinger, that was our opening production in December of 2021. So right out of the pandemic, or in the middle of it. And we had a cast of 21. It was set in a mega church, and we turned the Albany barn into a mega church. I could only do it. I could only do Harbinger because of Nicky, because he not only the expertise, but the skill and the design, creative design, but also the equipment. Like, he brought all the lights, the curtains, the projection screen. We had, a 15-foot tall screen where we projected the preacher's speech while he was talking to the audience, behind him. And then he created, on the 3 days before tech, he created an 8-foot cross. He went to Home Depot, bought a chunk of styrofoam, cut the thing out, hung it in the corner, and then lit it, in a way that it reflected off. And he never painted it, didn't touch it, and it was like this hunk of styrofoam hanging in the stage. But to the audience, it was like this, mega church, this, multi-million-dollar house of worship. And it was just magic. And it was, like that. And so amazing.
I was constantly in awe and very impressed with his willingness to just try anything as well. You could come to him with some sort of outlandish thing, and he would just rifle through the memory bank of every single thing that he'd ever done and just be like, yeah, I think I can make that work. And then he did. And he'd try. Even if it didn't work out exactly perfectly, he would try his best, and it was always amazing. And just that willingness to do new things every single time, even as such an established person with the established kind of repertoire, he was always willing to give something a try.
Exactly. And the show after the Christians was Hurricane Diane, where we ended up using the entire space and, the things that he created a hurricane.
Yeah. Inside.
Yeah. And just, God, I'm going to miss him. But, someone mentioned today about what they learned from him. Angelique, her husband, Willie, who lit their wedding.
Yeah.
Like he was always headed off somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got tonight? Oh, I'm going to a prom. He did everything.
Yeah.
But all the people that he influenced. I mean, I could not have created Harbinger, and now we work with other lighting designers. He was scheduled to light a couple of shows this season for us, but we're up and running and going strong. Confetti is solid. All of these companies which would not exist without him. Major contributor, founding father of Capital Region Theater as it exists now.
And just a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
That's what I did a bit of research before I came on the show today, because I unfortunately have never had the pleasure of meeting Nicholas, but that's what every single article said. That's what you guys are all saying here. And now that's all I have to learn about him.
Lovely man, and very generous, and I something to aspire to.
We could do the whole show about him, honestly.
Just a great guy.
Yeah.
I would not, I would not have started the podcast. He's an inspiration, and try it, do it. You can do more. You can, let's,
Yeah. Yep.
we can get this done, which is to me, Capital Region Theater, and theater as I live it.
Yeah.
So there's a news item that came out this week on a slightly different topic, but it generated a lot of chat. Ray Fiennes on a talk show last Sunday, and he's not the first one. Ian McKellen had these comments, and there was another actor in England who had these comments. And they traveled across the pond. But it was about trigger warnings. And Ray Fiennes is currently self-producing production of Macbeth. I'm sure he's got other people behind it. I'm not quite sure who. But it's eventually going to come to America. But he forbid trigger warnings. And he's not talking about safety. It specifically said, use of strobes or smoke or haze, something that would affect someone's health. This is not about that. This is about a trigger warning saying this production contains witchcraft, sensuality, images of infanticide, or something that would go on and reveal what's in the play. If anyone did not know, the Scottish play, and he kind of objected to it and said, more than kind of, he objected to that and said, it's ruining the sense of surprise for the audience, and that this was an overstep, but audiences have become soft. That I think he may regret those words, but that you go to the theater for the disturbance, for the shock, for the that you should be disturbed. Thoughts?
So my first thoughts are actually ran into an article a couple of months ago, no, about a year ago now, where they said that content warnings actually make the suspense a little bit more damaging to theater goers. It makes that it has people worrying the whole time, and it just builds up and builds up and builds up. So that way, when it finally happens, it's actually more upsetting to the individual. I ran into that article right before I went to go see a production of Titus Andronicus over at the Globe, where they had a bunch of different trigger warnings for discussions of a lot of the concepts. Titus Andronicus is, of course, as you guys know, like one of those really, really bloody Shakespearean tragedies. And they had all of these content warnings, even though they didn't fully depict them. Any sort of depictions of violence were done to candles that the actors would carry around instead. So those are my thoughts, is that I kind of agree with that statement, is that having these content warnings really does, it sets you up to be worrying about it rather than just getting into it.
Yeah, I had not heard that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different perspective because I think that, while I agree about the fact that it does create an unnecessary additional level of suspense or anxiety for the theater goer potentially, as someone who, I there are sensitive topics for me that I don't really like to engage with, just day to day. And that I do appreciate knowing, like, okay, I can prepare myself for this subject material. I think that the specificity of trigger warnings is perhaps like, I don't need a laundry list of every single time someone says, like death or something, but I do want to know if someone is going to be, sexually assaulted. Like, that is something that I would like to know about beforehand. Yeah. But I think it also, an element of it speaks to theater elitism a little bit for me, assuming that your audience has an understanding of the subject material and has an understanding of what theater attitude should be and how one should be approaching the theater. Someone who is walking past and sees the marquee and says, I think I'd like to see my first play today. They're not necessarily saying, okay, but I know that, this show has all of these themes in it, so am I in the correct emotional space to be dealing with those themes? How trigger warnings are accessibility in a way, and I think that is a huge thing that we are grappling with as a society, is the issue of accessibility and this ability to make things accessible to people, but what is overkill and what is not enough. So that's where I am, is that I think it's good and it's important, but I think that sometimes we do get a little bit of ahead of ourselves on those things.
Interesting. There is a kind of, I don't know if it's classism, but people laugh at, can you imagine you need to be told that Julius Caesar has knives? There is this, but of course people don't. There are people who don't know Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
And we want those people
exactly
to come to the
audience.
That
should be coming to see theater as people who have never experienced it.
Why would you, go, can you imagine? And someone doesn't know?
Yeah.
Titus? Yeah. I mean, we could look in this building, in the theater, people who don't know Titus or haven't seen Titus. But, Someone brought up an interesting point, like because you don't know what the show contains, you don't know what it might trigger in you, but it's commonplace nowadays to be in a restaurant and to have the waiter say anyone with allergies at this table. So you could, at the box office or at the lobby, ask, "Would you like to hear the trigger warnings? Would you like?"
Exactly. People should have the choice, I
Yeah.
guess. If you'd like to go in from a place of not knowing, what the show contains and you'd like to have a heads up, that's
Yeah.
fine. But also people don't like to read to begin with, so they can just choose not to read that part
Yeah.
of the program
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, what I've kind of seen that was really helpful for me, having just signage like within the theater, like, hey, just so you know, here are a couple of content warnings, and not really necessarily delving into like, oh, it happens here or it happens there, but this does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the last play that you walked into having no idea what it was about? And, like, shocker.
I'm really trying to think because I do like to go to my comfort zone shows. Like I like to see things
Yeah.
that I love because I like to see them. So I'm gonna toss this one over to you first while I think about it.
Oh, sounds good. Now I'm thinking back to
I asked this question, and I'm going to screw up the playwright's name. I saw something off Broadway, like down Avenue B, East 4th Street, called Job. And it was with Peter Friedman and this young woman, Lemon. It's Jack Lemon's granddaughter. And it was a therapy session where she has to be approved to go back to work. And he has to evaluate her. And it started off with her holding a gun to him. And it kind of went from there. And it was there was a shocking twist to it where I had read reviews and I knew, it had a run before Christmas and then it made this move and I was, but it did not give it away. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like,
still thinking, but I think one show that I did see that that I just went into not really knowing like a ton about was The Burnt City by Punch Drunk.
oh, yeah.
They do a lot of like immersive,
Yep,
like really immersive stuff.
Sleep No More.
Yeah, Sleep No More. Which has that closed yet or no?
Soon.
Soon.
This week. Next week.
Next week. Who
Yeah,
knows?
no, any day now.
But they did this piece called The Burnt City that kind of goes into like the fall of Troy, really delving into like the Trojan women. And I went in because I was like, you know what? I want to go into this space. I want to have no idea what's going on. And for me, that was fine. But for a lot of other people that I went with, they were really nervous about the whole immersive aspect. They'd never done that sort of thing. So they didn't have any idea what to expect. Like, can the performers touch me? Is that something that they're going to try and do? Are the performers going to be enacting, violence against each other? And several of my classmates had to just kind of go to the bar that was kind of like outside of the theater space because it was just too much. Even like lighting and sound, it was just
It's
too
long
much.
too, right?
Yeah, it's like a good 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they go through these scenes over and over and over again, and it was a lot for some folks, and that's I'm lucky enough that I am just willing to go for it. But that
No, I
that's
hear
a
you.
privilege. That's a privilege.
I hear you. Immersive, by its very nature, I think, takes you out of your comfort zone. And you're standing in among the performers. Yeah, and you don't know if you are going to be touched.
Yeah.
You are going to be moved. To this side, to that side.
Yeah, I actually, while I was doing it, I kept watching this one particular cycle because there was this. There was this character that just moved in this way that was
You
like,
get
I
to
really want to
choose.
follow her. I'm interested in her story. And when I followed her the first time, because what happens is you follow the characters between scenes rather than like going to one place and watching it. You follow one character through their storyline, and on that first cycle through, she kind of like led a bunch of us in one direction. Then she stopped and turned around and she stared at me, and she looked me right in the eyes. And I just looked back because I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And she takes her hand and she puts it on my chest and she starts shoving me like backwards. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that this was the sort of thing that could happen in theater.
Are we dancing?
Are we dancing? I don't know. So she like is slowly like pushing me, and then I feel my back like up against the door, and she pushes me through that door, grabs me by the neck, and takes me through into this like corridor. And I was like, whoa, how did you know that like I was comfortable with that? Like if it was somebody else, they would be like, oh God, don't touch me. But for me, she knew that would be fine, because then I went through. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I want to see what else her story is. And I get back to that point in the cycle again. She does it to somebody else, but she doesn't touch them. She just stares them down.
Yeah.
No hand on the chest, no shoving. She just stares them in the eyes. And I think that, that's another thing too, is that we have to figure out as performers moment to moment, like what can we do that's safe for our audiences?
That's great stuff. Yeah, but what a thrill for you, to have that, as an audience member, we are always editing, we're choosing what we want to look at, and to follow that path and then to engage with it in that way, that is.
It's been in my head ever since.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of a great performance. I'm gonna call it a performance event that I attended that Troy Foundry Theatre did before the pandemic. But they were in one of those houses by Sage.
Right.
That they'd co-opted for this purpose or whatever. And it was this wonderful, like, just theater experience with, costumed actors in multiple rooms of this house. And you just were encouraged to walk through the house. Like, it was like a party. David Gerard was there serving alcohol to everybody.
Are you talking about Where There's Smoke, Ilium Burns?
No. That was way before that.
I think this was La Ronde.
Yes, that is what it was.
And directed by Brenna Geffers of
Yes.
Diecast.
Gotcha. I could not remember exactly what it was called, but it was fascinating. It was wonderful because it was just different scenes in different rooms of the house and different levels of audience involvement. And the actors would move around as well to just perform those scenes. And it was an interesting conversation about intimacy and outside conversations versus inside conversations, and public versus private, and what you do in private with your partner or your lover or your enemy, and what you do in public with those people, and just moving around, and so it wasn't purely on the audience member or the audience participant, I guess, to move around the house and experience the different scenes, because they were all moving as well, and it was just this constant motion around this building, and it was all just theatrical and driven, and it was fabulous. And I stayed for a really long time, just doing everything. I had to see everything, and that I had no idea what to expect. I was just like, I'm gonna go and see what this is.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was amazing.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Brenna is actually in town. I interviewed her for Nippertown. She's working at Union College, and she's actually collaborating with Troy Foundry. They're doing a play lab at the end of February and beginning of March. Shane Camaris, who is a Siena grad, is doing a piece on Antonio from
What You Would.
Yes, from Twelfth Night. And there's another piece by non-binary artist Han Van Sciver, called Gay Narcissus. Yeah, I'm anxious to go to that movie. 28th, I believe it is. Yeah. So she is a genius of immersive theater.
Yeah.
I've admired her work. I see she works a lot with Provincetown Tennessee Williams Festival, and we've seen a number of shows that they've done up there. So, Rachel, are you from the area?
Yes, I am.
Where are you from?
Albany.
Albany. Where'd you go to school?
Albany Academy for Girls.
Oh, did you
Yes.
hear about Albany Academy for Girls?
Did I hear about Albany Academy for Girls?
Let's keep it to theater. So
Yeah.
there's a shakeup going on.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that later.
And the country's oldest school for girls.
Day school. Yep.
Yeah.
Emma Willard is the oldest girls boarding school, but Albany Academy for Girls is the United States' oldest girls' day school.
Isn't that crazy that they're both in the capital region?
Yep.
So, theater.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college? Did you do theater in high school?
I did
What's
I did do theater in high school. The first play that I ever did was Our Town. Yep, and I was good old Sam Craig in
Sam Craig.
Yep, in 8th grade, and then
He's just in the funeral. No.
oh yeah, no, he just goes and he's like, "There's my cousin, so and so."
Yeah.
But it was great. I got to wear a little bowler hat. And I
Yeah.
felt very special. But yeah, so then I did theater all through high school. I did not study theater. I think you guys, I was thinking about this earlier. You two are very representative of the learned theatrical person. You read all the plays, you go see all of the shows.
Fall.
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging at all. You're very intellectual, theatrical people. I am not so much that. I love to read plays and go and see theater and stuff, but most of my learning about how theater works has just been by doing it. So, yeah, I did not study theater or anything. I did one show in college.
Oh.
And then I got back here and just dove right into the community.
You took the acting class with
Oh, I
Patrick
took the acting
White.
class with Patrick White. Sorry,
but now
that's not
how-
study, that's devotion.
How long out of school were you when you took my class?
I graduated in 2016 and I took a class in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything in between there?
Yeah. Well, so I have a bad memory, so I brought my entire theatrical resume.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, no. So I do film too. My friend Tommy is a wonderful filmmaker, and I've worked with him on several projects. So I've been doing that. I did Hedda Gabler at Albany Civic. I did She Kills Monsters with APO at RPI Players in Troy. I did
Who's APO?
Alpha Psi Omega.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the honors.
Yeah.
And then I stage managed King Lear. I stage managed The Register. I was in
King Lear for Confetti?
Yes, King Lear for Confetti. Yeah, King Lear for Confetti.
Confetti.
Yep. And then I did All's Well That Ends Well with Classic Theater Guild in 2018. I did.
Was that up at the Orchard?
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was a great show. Yep.
Good.
We had a great time. It was nice to be out in the open air.
Yeah. Who directed that?
Shauna Munson.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't know if that was her first directing experience or not. And Shauna, if you're listening / watching, correct me later. But it was just a fun summer show to do. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jack, you're a local boy as well.
Yes, I am. I'm from Glenville, New York, so
Ah.
not too far from here.
Yeah.
I went to Scotia Glenville High School.
Excellent.
That whole neck of the woods. So, just a hop, skip, and a jump over here to Schenectady.
Yeah. Right across the bridge. What'd you do in high school?
So in high school, I did do theater. I did all the plays, which were our musicals were a lot more popular in terms of
Sure.
what people wanted to do. But I was always like, I want to do the plays. That's where I'm at. I don't know how to sing. I'm really nervous about it.
Yeah.
Which I've gotten a lot better about actually, just by expanding my.
You were in company.
I was in company, yes, over at Siena College. That was
Yeah.
the first time that I really felt like I got to sing by myself in front of a crowd. And Jessica Creasy, if you are watching, I'm very proud because I was really nervous. Like I had a lot of
Is that the music director?
Yes.
Oh,
she's the musical director.
I am
of
the music director's worst nightmare.
Oh no.
Yeah. A little bit higher.
Yeah, but the reason why I was able to do so well in company was because of everything that because I was with her for, oh my goodness gracious, since middle school, like all the way up through to Corollaires, and that was like our elite,
Yeah.
kind of like audition only
your
group.
special theater group.
Well,
Your special.
well, we
it's
didn't
okay.
we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of like the basses. I was a bass too for a long time. But yeah, no, Scotia Glenville High School
Excellent.
really served me well. Did a lot of the plays, and I would frequently get cast in, like, I would be like, oh, I want this niche part that no one else wants.
Yeah.
And the director, Michael Camello, would be like, cool, no one else wanted this. You can have it.
Characters?
Yeah, characters.
Yeah.
So I played like Buzz Taylor in Father of the Bride. That was my first like play on stage. Well, I was in The Lion King Jr. in middle school, but I was a late edition.
Who's Buzz Taylor?
So he's the friend of the youngest son in that family for Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
So he shows up for like one scene. He goes upstairs. In the stage directions, he never comes back down. So we had to add him coming back down.
Oh my God.
Otherwise, he would have been up.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw Father of the Bride.
Where'd you see it?
Yeah.
You saw mine?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I saw yours.
If there's theater in this region, Patrick has
Yeah.
more than likely seen it.
Well,
if not had an active hand in it.
Yeah, we have a longer history.
I did not know that.
Yes,
Okay, well, let's go
I'm
through.
an avid collector of Jack Ellis performances.
Yeah.
even
That's
more
great.
exciting and scary.
Yeah. All right. And then you went on to Siena.
Yes. So
Hold up. Youth theater. Any like summer programs or anything in the area? No?
No.
Okay.
I did a not
just
so
checking
common players
in.
show in high school.
A what?
A not so common players show in high school.
Yeah. The adults or the camp?
The adults.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
That's the closest I've
I'm
come.
a counselor at the Not So Common Kids Camp. Just checking. Yeah, we're
I've never
doing
been
the
a
Adams
kid.
Family this year.
never been a kid?
Never been a kid?
I came out like
Separated.
this. Yeah. Fully formed like Athena.
Oh. On to Siena and
on to Siena.
and your illustrious career there. Yeah, man.
I got really lucky, like from the beginning, because we were coming in right during the pandemic, so we couldn't do like on stage work. So I did a lot with Sam Booty. Came in to do. He does a lot of podcasts in the area, but he took me on for a couple of radio plays. So I played The Stranger in War of the Worlds, and then I played James Brent in an Agatha Christie radio play called Personal Call. And I got nominated for KCACTF off of Personal Call and the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. So it's like
Thank
a
you.
big... Yeah.
I need to
Great
know
job,
that.
Jack.
It is.
Good save.
It's which is a big theater festival.
Yeah.
You send in like some monologues and scenes, and you get to get chosen to perform other stuff for like a $500 scholarship through the Kennedy Center.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to go to that. They do a bunch of workshops, like for a whole week. You go and
That was just last week, 2 weeks ago.
yeah, just a few
Out
weeks
in
ago.
Cape Cod.
We're in Central Connecticut State University now. They just moved. They just moved over.
Congrats. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It was wonderful. It was really. I love getting to be around like a bunch of new theater students that I don't usually connect with.
Yeah.
So it was just really fun.
Yeah, that's my whole reason for creating this podcast. I just need more theater
Just
in my
want to hang
life.
out with more theater people.
Yeah. I mean, like, Kennedy Center. I'm in the midst of creating a Capital Region Theater Festival.
Really?
Yeah. So, that's it.
For students or for adults?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. Yeah, we're moving forward. We should have something for October, but then in June of 25, We're going to have a 4-day, 4 stages, 4 cities theater festival. Yeah. Where to you are doing a maze, which
Yes.
I have never heard of.
Is it amazing?
Well, it really is. The whole play, it's this big puzzle because there's you get into the play at first and you're introduced to her name is Jessica Maple, and she's just come out of being abducted and a hostage for 8 years in the basement of a famous graphic novelist who I will be playing.
Another character.
Yes, that's the character I'll be playing. But you start off with that, and you don't know, like, oh, like she was abducted. Well, like, what happened? Like, she's just gotten out of this. What happened during those 8 years? And you don't get that answered until the end of Act 1, because you get a scene from that, and then you get a scene from this band called the Pathetic Fallacy, and they're trying to. They're one of their lead singers, Paul. He's trying to get over his addictions to, I don't remember what they say. I don't think that there is a specific drug that he's addicted to, but he goes to a rehab center, and he's kind of going through his own journey. And then we've got scenes from that graphic novel. So we've got like the king and the queen in that world kind of chatting about this princess that's going to be born, who then ends up being Jessica Maple at the end of Act 1. So you see all of it kind of like, you get amazed at the end of Act 1 by like, oh, here are all these pieces like coming together.
Don't spoil it too much.
Well, I've already spoiled enough, but I will not spoil how all of those pieces kind of intertwine and interconnect.
Who's the playwright?
Rob Handel. If I recall correctly, he is currently the head of dramatic writing over at Carnegie Mellon. The reason why this play isn't so popular is because it's not one of his published works. He has 2 other like major published works that people do know, but this was a play that's I've only seen production photos for like 5 or 6 other productions online. Like if you were to type in Rob Handel A Maze,
Right.
you find nothing.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love Capital Region premieres. Yeah, and again, walking into a theater having no idea what you're going to encounter. Krista told me that the students chose this.
Yes, I was actually on that selection committee. So for this season, we were really kind of interested. We just did Enemy of the People by Henrik Ibsen in the fall, directed
Fantastic
by
job.
Sandra Boynton. And then this one is being done by a Schenectady resident, actually. Jorge Luna is directing A Maze, and he's been wonderful to meet. But I'm getting a bit off track. So I was on that season selection committee, and we really wanted to kind of like look at these different characters and these different things about like, you know, who owns ideas and like how important those ideas are and how destructive these ideas can be if you're not careful. So when our previous technical director, Michael Palumbo, came with this script and he was like, hey, I designed for this show. I think we should consider doing it here. I read through it and I was like, this is really heavy stuff. This is really complex stuff. And I think that for the launch of the new major, this is something we should be doing. Yeah. This is something that we should be trying out because there's this crazy level of nuance between, you know, just the 3 different plot threads and having to piece everything together as performers because we need to know how the play constructs itself, but then also for the audience. And the audience is not going to get it if we don't do our jobs. So it's been really fun putting that all together.
Fantastic. Congratulations. You know, taking a chance, taking risks, you know, doing something that challenges yourselves and challenges the audiences, you know, and moving beyond just, you know, I want to play that, you know, great job. Yeah. Excellent. Can't wait to see it. You said the previous technical director, has Michael moved on?
Yes, Michael Palumbo is now teaching at Susquehanna University.
Sorry.
I've run. He came back up to see Enemy of the People, and he's he's having a really wonderful time, which is good because that's what he really enjoyed, like teaching his students. Because he would take on work study students, and I was one of his work study students at one point or another, and I loved working with him because he would always go very slowly and show me how everything worked. And now I have a better understanding of carpentry and of lighting because of the work that I did with him.
Awesome. Which, by the way, Enemy of the People was a stunning set design. I love the colleges in the area that, that have the budgets and have the technical know-how and go out there with their spaces. And that was certainly...
we were so lucky.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, what would your trigger warning of Amaze?
For Amaze? Yeah, I was thinking about that as we were talking earlier. Abduction. What else would I say? Drug use and drug addiction. Discussions of depictions of assault. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just the general like hostage situation. I'm not quite sure how to word that, but
Forced imprisonment.
Okay. Rachel.
Patrick.
Yes. Yes. Stage Kiss.
Yeah.
What is going on? What is Sarah Rule?
Yes.
I love Sarah.
Yes.
Who doesn't love Sarah Rule?
Yeah. No, the show, it's a wonderful show. It's about these two people who had been in a relationship previously, who became estranged, spent several years apart from one another, and then come to find out that they have been cast in the same show. And it's, this kind of faffy 30s show that they're trying to revive, very much like, oh darling, I can't bear it, like that kind of thing. So there's a juxtaposition of the reality versus the show, and then what is real intimacy versus staged intimacy, and how do our characters bleed into ourselves, how do we bleed into our characters, how do we reconcile our relationships with people off stage and on stage. What is the impact of, our interpersonal relationships on our family members and the people around us, and what will we do for theater? What will we do to get a good show? So it's a great, great show. The actors have been working so hard, and it looks incredible. Obviously the team has been working really hard too, and we're just constantly still having new ideas and still being like, oh, what might be great. It's still inspiring to us. We get to rehearsal every night and we're seeing our actors doing what they're doing on stage, and they're just giving us more and more ideas and more ways to make the show amazing. Which is hard because we're getting really close to tech, and it's really hard to put new things into the show, but we keep having these great ideas, and so yeah, it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be a huge production, not really a huge production, but it's gonna feel like a huge production. It's great. It's great. Yeah.
And Sean Baldwin is directing.
Yep,
You are stage managing.
And Marissa Lunello is assistant directing.
Awesome. Have you worked with Sean and Marissa before?
I have. I haven't worked with Marissa before, but I've worked with Sean before. Sean did the lighting design, or not lighting, sound design for Half-Life of Marie Curie, and we were in McGrec together, and I think we've been in something else together, but I guess he also taught my cousin theater in high school. So that I found that out at a Christmas or something.
Sean is another Siena alum.
Oh boy!
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
This place is lousy with Siena alums.
I did a show with Sean. I was a guest artist for a version of The Snow Queen, directed by Jeffrey Mousseau. Back in the day.
The olden times.
Yeah, olden times. Yes, back when Snow Queen was contemporary play. Yes. What a class that was. Yeah, Siena has contributed a bunch of, yeah,
Laura Darling, Jen Bart,
yeah,
all Siena people.
yeah. Nora Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. What is the trigger warning for stage kiss?
No, there are several. I would say kissing,
Kissing.
Yeah.
kissing, hugging, smooching.
Kissing and smooching.
Yeah, they're different.
They are different. Yeah. Well,
They're-
I didn't know they were both in the play, is the thing.
And there's some making out too.
Making out. Necking.
Naked, canoodling. I
Is there
tell you what.
snogging?
No snogging.
No snogging?
No
Okay,
snogging.
Cool. Then I can
Is an American play.
Yes, is a very American play. Smoking, depictions of drug use.
Smoking.
Yes, depictions of sexual assault or close to ish. Sexual violence.
Assault-ish.
Violence.
Smoking. What
Yeah.
are you doing for cigarettes?
Puffers.
Puffers. Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Are you, yeah. You got a good puffer?
Yeah, I think it's such a brief scene. It's just kind of like
Okay.
yeah, there's a whole,
It's
does anyone
always-
smoke here? I'm smoking because I don't know what to do because you're my ex and you're sitting in the room with me and I'm just going to smoke this cigarette, I guess.
Yeah, it's always a
Yeah.
question. Have you come up against cigarettes?
Yeah, in company, we had
Right.
we had a couple of
You have a joint in company.
we had a joint in company. Yes, I'm not sure how they handled it because I wasn't
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
We have a bong
But then,
for our show and I got to figure out what to do with it.
I was wondering what the other drug usage was other than cigarettes. I was
Uh,
like, is it going to be like
Yes, the wacky tobacco.
wacky tobacco?
The devil's lettuce makes an appearance.
Scary.
There was some show I saw that used puffers. Oh, Mountaintop
Yeah.
had puffers. And of course, they never go down.
Yeah.
They're always the same length. And they started to gather in the ashtray because the play is all set in a single setting.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
and
know
some play had
Child, I believe.
herbal.
Barry Child.
Yeah, he went
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
a few cigarettes, which, regardless of their herbal, but there's still that like smoke that hangs in the theater.
Yeah.
It's and although it's realistic, and the actor enjoys smoking, although. I don't know who enjoys herbals, but then taking the audience out is this smoke that hangs in the room there, and it smells, and we're not used to it,
Yeah.
because you never smell that anymore.
When you have something like that, you have to understand that you are creating immersive theater at that point. When you are using the herbal cigarettes or something that adds an element to the air around you and interacts with the audience in some way, like you have crossed the line into interactive theater. So how are you going to work that into your show design? Like think about how that would be impacting the audience and what their relationship to the show and that effect is going to be.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
and I think a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, oh, we're going to smoke cigarettes because the show is here. But when you have that, it brings the show
Yeah.
all the way through into the audience.
It's been a question for 20 years now. I can't remember when the last time I actually smoked on stage, but you always have to come up with. It's always, how do we deal with this?
Yeah.
And I did Noel Coward play Blithe Spirit, and not smoking in a Noel Coward play is like. I think I ate like 20 olives.
Yeah.
Not olives. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I also hate
just
Thank you.
They taste
They
musty.
they made me eat them on stage one time, and I hated every moment of it.
oh, I love olives.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
must
I'm
be
glad that we're
so
over here then,
nice.
and you're over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
This is the smart normal side and the weird
Smart
side.
normal. There was a production I did of Born Yesterday where the director came up with the idea of since we don't have cigarettes, he put jelly beans on the set. Yeah, so that we would be popping jelly beans, but jelly beans stick to your teeth, which are necessary
For
to speak.
talking, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. I have jelly beans in the minutes. There's a character who lines her common council desk with jelly beans. She comes in and opens a candy store in front of her.
I love that.
Yeah.
Real bean counter, huh?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
is it, just out of curiosity, just because like I haven't done a lot of work like with a lot of outside theater companies yet, other than Will Caps
Yet.
players. But so for smoking, is there not a lot of like do people prefer having like the smoke? Because when we did it like at Siena, we just mimed it. I mean, obviously, like if you're just miming it, you run into other issues because then it's super easy to forget like, oh, this is a cigarette. I need to like it's hot at the end and I have to like blow out the smoke in a certain way. But
Do people like smoking? I think some people must.
well, I mean like having yes,
Yeah.
of course people like smoking.
No. Do actors like it? I think they must.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a directorial choice.
Yeah.
As
How
well.
how are we going to deal with this?
Yeah.
We can use a puffer. We can use an herbal.
Yeah.
We can mime. We can
Because what's the application?
drink.
Yeah.
We can do other activities.
Yeah, because like if the cigarette has to disappear, then it should be smokable. But if you're just holding it because you're holding a cigarette, then it can be a puffer, And do you need the pack of cigarettes? Do you need just a cigarette and an ashtray? But you have all of these questions.
Yeah. Very good. The play that changed my life. Rachel.
Yes. So I have a play and I have a musical.
All right.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the title of the show is like the play that changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so I have a play,
A
but-
musical play. The
We
play.
have a spin-off series, the musical that changed my life.
I'll host. No.
Very good.
Because you were saying about you're like, I hate the musicals. I'm like, I prefer to be in musicals personally. I love to stage manage plays, but I love to be in musicals. But so the play that changed my life, I'm going to say, was A Midsummer Night's Dream. Because when I was in 5th grade, I don't know if you could tell, but I was a precocious child. And I think I've carried some of that
I think
attitude
we all are.
into my life. That's theater, right? Like
Yes.
it's all precocious kids.
Yes.
But my teacher, who was wonderful, wonderful, Miss Hall, noticed that I was just not really like enjoying English class, which is strange because I love to read. I'm very literate, whatever. So she talked to me, and instead of doing what I think a lot of teachers would have done, which is like read the book, participate in class, do what you're doing, she was like, "What's up?" I told her that I'd already read the book because it was like 4th grade, 5th grade book. She said, "Okay, English class, you hang out in the back. After school, we're doing special English." And she had me read A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that was my very first Shakespeare. And she took me through it, and I still have my copy, like my Folger text from 5th grade with all of my little kids' notes in it and everything. And that's what got me into Shakespeare and then really into theater and wanting to be involved in it. Like my grandpa was a theater guy for a really long time. Like Nikki Lights reminded me a lot of my grandpa. But that was kind of like the catalyst for it. But the musical that changed my life is Les Mis. Because it is just, I love it. I loved the book. And then I saw the musical and I was like, the music is so good. It's so good. How could you make me care so much about this weird June Rebellion of 1832 in the weird 19th century French history section of we're going to figure out democracy, but we're going to kill a lot of people in the course of it, So,
When did you first encounter it?
the book when I was young, and then the musical. Yeah, I'm weird, Patrick.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like I really enjoyed learning all about the bishop for the
Yeah,
first like
you know,
third of the book. Character that doesn't even really exist in the musical. But then the musical was like middle school, high school, and I've now seen it on the West End and on Broadway and here at Proctor's. Last time it was here.
Wow. And it's coming back.
It is, but I
Yeah.
have it tattooed on me.
Yeah.
It's my Victor Hugo handwriting.
Oh, neat.
It's a Grantaire quote.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming back next month.
Yeah, I took a selfie in the lobby, and I'm definitely going to ask one of you guys on the way out to take a real picture of me.
Absolutely. Listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my special interests. Like, I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Jack.
So, funnily enough, also A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Ah!
But a
No.
little bit- yes.
I
No.
was scared that you were going to say the same thing, so I'm glad
This
I went
has
first.
never happened
This
before.
has never happened. Okay.
Okay.
Well, mine's a little different because I
Okay.
didn't read it first. I went to go see it first. So, I was just kind of getting into Shakespeare because I was enjoying stuff like that I was reading in class. So, like, I was reading like Romeo and Juliet, and I thought all the dick jokes were really funny, and everyone around me was like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Dude, this is so freaking funny!" Like, it's so funny. But my father was like looking around for different Shakespeare stuff, and he was looking through the newspaper, and he sees a little show of A Midsummer Night's Dream being performed by none other than Sandra Boynton of Will Kemp's Players, who taught my father. So he was like, "Oh, like, there's free Shakespeare down in Schenectady. Do you want to go see A Midsummer Night's Dream?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds wonderful." And I go down there, we go down there, we see it. I watch all of this stuff, and I get really enamored with Puck, of course, because Puck is just really cool, played by Shay Fitzgerald of Will Kemp's Players and a bunch of other places. And I fell in love with how Shay moved as Puck. And I was like, wow, that's really freaking cool. And seeing Shakespeare on stage I was like, okay, now I want to go and really go for like a lot of more of that theater stuff, like moving forward in my life. And that's how I got a lot more confident, was seeing how cool it was and seeing how cool it could be. So we fast forward to my sophomore year. Yeah. My sophomore year, I'm doing a show called Can't Pay, Won't Pay, directed by Sandra Boynton. And then they're doing, she kind of pulls me aside at one point. She's like, "Hey, one of our shows we had to have over at Will Kemp's Players, we've had a character or an actor have to drop out from a play, and you would be the perfect fit." So I end up playing Chiron in Titus Andronicus. And I know I mentioned Titus Andronicus before, but there are these two brothers that are in it, these two Goth brothers who get not abducted, but taken in by the Romans at the very beginning of the play. And that brother of mine is none other than Shay Fitzgerald, who I fell in love with when I went to go see Midsummer Night's Dream. So
Love it.
that play completely changed my life, and has made me a Shakespearean. It's made me somebody who loves working with Will Kemp's. It's made me look at going to Mary Baldwin for their program in Shakespeare and performance for grad school, if they'll take me.
How old were you again when you saw the Park production?
I don't remember. I think it was in 2019. Okay.
So how old were you?
Well, if I'm 22 now, that makes me about 16. That might be right. That might be wrong. I don't know.
That's great. I love that. You're going to make me cry.
Do it, Patrick. Cry.
The ties that, all the different ways in which we, pass it on.
If I talk to anyone in Albany in the theater community for more than 5 minutes, it always ends with discovering that the world is this small.
Yes.
This small.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that story. That's great.
That's right.
Yeah. What else do we have? I am opening in a show this weekend.
Yeah, Patrick, tell us about the Minutes.
I'm doing The Minutes by Tracy Letts.
Where is it being performed?
It's at Albany Civic Theater, 235 2nd Avenue. It is a common council or city council meeting of Big Cherry does not specify the state, municipality, and it's a city council meeting that goes wrong. It's about governance. It's about working and living together in America today, and the sins of our fathers and how to account and carry them forward. It's a comedy. It's very, very funny until it isn't.
Tell us about the character you play.
I play Councilman Assalone, or as I pronounce it, Assalone. Yes, and he is the brother of the sheriff in town.
Ooh.
And Councilman Assalone owns a fire truck, which he rents to the Big Cherry Heritage Festival for an exorbitant amount of money. Provided to him by Sheriff Assalone. So he's a little shady,
A little crooked.
and
Just a little bit.
well, his civic pride comes with a price tag, and he's not afraid to make money off of it. Sort of the David Soares of.
I was going to say, did you draw any
Yes,
inspiration from real life sources?
Everyone's been going along to get along, and there is a new councilman played by Kevin O'Toole. Oh dear, who upsets the wagon of business as usual in the Big Cherry City Council. Tracy Letts, of course, is the Pulitzer winner for August Osage County, which is being done for the first time in the Capital Region by Schenectady Civic Players next month, directed by Michael McDermott. So that's exciting. 2 Tracy Letts plays this spring, so you can see early career and mid-career Tracy Letts. I saw August on Broadway and the Minutes, and when I was cast in his production of Superior Donuts at the Rep, I went out to Chicago. I took a train out to Chicago for some research.
Yeah.
And I went to Steppenwolf. And Tracy Letts was appearing in Will Eno's Middletown. So that was part of my connection to Tracy Letts.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's Letts-to-mania.
Let's-to-mania.
Yeah.
Let's-to-mania in the Capital Region this spring.
And this is my, 28th production at Albany Civic Theater.
Congratulations.
Yeah, from readings and stuff. It was the first place I worked at after I came home from New York City. I went down to the city to study and pursue a professional career, and came home in '94, and I did Prelude to a Kiss in 1997 at Albany Civic Theater, and that was my first Capital Region acting, or since high school. I went to Colony High. But so happy to be opening that.
Yeah. That's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a fantastic cast. It's directed by a good friend of mine, Brian Sheldon, the executive director of Sand Lake Center for the Arts, and my partner, Chris Foster, plays Mayor Superba.
Superba.
Yes.
These names are killing me.
Yeah. It's Dickensian. Gary Hoffman plays Oldfield, and Aaron Moore plays. I'm gonna get into trouble now. I'm having Biden memory problems here. Now, who does he play?
I have known Aaron for years and years and years.
Yeah? How do you know Aaron?
We were Christian youths together. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's always been just a really genuinely good guy. I don't know if he remembers me at all, so Aaron, hi, if you don't remember.
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I've known
great.
Aaron a long
Yeah,
time
he's
too.
phenomenal.
Yeah, he plays Blake.
Ah,
Ryan Palmer, thanks for the filler. Ryan Palmer is in it. He plays Hanratty. Kevin O'Toole, Samantha Moyran. Um,
went to high school with Sammy. Yep.
ah, what high school again?
Albany Academy for Girls.
There you
baby.
go. Yeah. Oh, she was all over the conference call last night in the green room about the change in academy structure.
Yeah, we had a Zoom last night.
And Allie Doggett is in it. She plays Johnson, the secretary. Sean Morgan plays Breeding, and Diane O'Neill plays Miss Innes. Do I have everyone? Oh, Bill Douglas, the director's father-in-law, plays Carp. Yeah, and in this play, there are 5 directors on stage.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Brian's directing,
Right.
but 5 of us are directors. Yeah.
And
So
now, is that fun or is that scary?
No, it's great.
Good,
It's
good,
great. I have no problem turning it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I
So
have no problem letting it go and saying,
so you're the type that you can turn off the director brain
Oh.
and just let go and
I don't know that you turn off the brain. You turn off
Yeah.
the tongue.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, you see something
Yeah.
and you go, yeah. But I'm happy
yeah,
to be, cran in his cran box and not say, I mean, I've given suggestions as any actor
Yeah.
collaborating would say, hey, how about this? How about that?
yeah,
That's free and easy. But, once we're working on something, I don't say, that really doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's none of my concern,
Yeah.
right?
It's always so hard when you do technical theater and you're on stage and you're like, I'm not in that role right now. I'm in a different role.
Yeah. If you're involved in something, I can speak and say, you try 9 times out of 10 how to make it work.
Yeah.
And to make it work. And if something is really like stuck,
Yeah.
you go, it really doesn't feel right. And I've had directors say, it looks great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, then that's what I
That's fine. That's fine. I will go with that. Yep.
I'm your huckleberry.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Harbinger, of course, is producing In the Blood by
Oh, yeah, I've seen the posters.
Pulitzer winner Suzanne Laurie Parks. Poster by Mark Christopher. We have to talk about your posters. And that's going up March 15th at St. Rose Theater. We are the last production in St. Rose Theater.
Send a
It's a
blessing
Harbinger production. It is not a St. Rose production, but the college is closing down in June or at the end of this semester.
Another uproarious change
Yeah,
in the
and
academic community.
We snuck in there. We got scheduled. It's 2 minutes from my house. It's like cutting through a fence, and we got in there. I've lived in the neighborhood for 25 years, and now it's closing. So we'll see what happens. But we're having, there's a free preview on March 14th, and on March 16th, we're having an evening for St. Rose. Alumni especially are welcome. We'll have light fare and sweets and prizes just to say goodbye to the campus, the building. We've seen a ton of stuff there. When they closed their theater department, we inherited, I'm very good friends with Angela Leckie, who was teacher there, and the theater department kind of became Harbinger Theater.
Yeah.
I had a number, and there's still Lauren D'Annabelle is stage managing In the Blood. She's a St. Rose grad, and our press representative, Kayla D'Amico, is St. Rose grad. It's very sad. Your posters.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your posters.
Oh,
You did
golly.
the poster for Stage Kiss
Yes, I think I might have one in my bag, but it's all the way over there.
and
but-
Half-Life.
Yep.
So how'd you get started in that?
I also did McRack too.
Yes.
But yeah, I like graphic design. My last job before my current one, I was doing like social media and stuff, so I got to just practice every single day. But yeah, no, it's just always been an interest of mine. I like playing around with pictures and words, and if I can do it and help promote a show I'm working on at the same time, I'm gonna do it.
Well, I gotta say it's great work.
Thank
and I
you.
appreciate it. And,
Yeah.
I love the companies, up in their game and
Yeah.
taking care and consideration.
If anyone wants a poster.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Jack. Anything else?
Anything else?
Life lessons.
Life lessons. Remember that theater's a collaborative art, and we all have really wonderful ideas to share.
You have your application in at Mary Baldwin.
That's another thing on this week, so working on it.
Yeah. Break legs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hope for the best. Can't wait to see both your productions. Thank you so much for coming here, and I'll see you all in a theater real soon. Thanks for tuning in, and see you soon.